So, the recent episode of My Hero Academia Vigilantes has been released, and it's your boy, Manga Andrew, and I'm here to break down everything that you may have missed in the most recent episode. So, let's just dive right into it and talk about the episode. So, this episode of My Hero Academia Vigilantes is titled Judgment, as it takes its name from Manga Chapter 9, as it covers manga chapters 8 through 9 in this episode. But it doesn't just cover those two episodes, because the episode actually begins with a cut sequence from the manga seen in Chapter 4, pages 13 through 17. Which is that Koichi attempts to take his classmates to his penthouse suite, which is followed by him being ostracized at school, and how in the manga this is presented as a flashback, while in the anime it occurs in a nondescript time frame, as it's used as a way to use as a transition and framing device for the episode's beginning. As well as, unfortunately, the anime does still cut out Koichi's first moving into his penthouse, but it does expand on the students gossiping about Koichi. And it even adds a little bit more to the scene of Koichi dragging one of the girls into the darkness, making it seem a little bit more sinister. Overall, this is a great way to add in cut content to the anime to really add to the world of My Hero Academia Vigilantes and add to the character of Koichi, as well as another anime original scene that really just shows how Koichi is interacting and getting used to his new life with Pop Step and Knuckle Duster. But that's not the only addition that we get to the anime, because as the anime starts proper after the OP, the anime has an original scene showing a newscast reporting on the crimes of a villain named Iyaro Tenba, who we later see is killed in the alley by the newly introduced individual of Stenhall. And I really love that the anime adds this pre-introduction to Stenhall, because while it takes away from the surprise that Stenhall is a murderer as it was like in the manga, but it substitutes that with a little bit more dread and suspense, knowing who the character is prior, but the characters in series don't. So I really love how the anime is adding more to the context of what we got in the manga, really just showing how much of an adaptation it is. And this is even seen more with the next sequence, where we pretty much get a beat for beat adaptation of Koichi and his first meeting of the young boy, which we later learn to be Pop Step, and how it is pretty much a one-for-one from what it was in the manga, but there's a lot of additions and changes as well. For instance, we do get a slight addition, an extended scene in the anime of Pop Step arriving to Koichi's place as she's trying to think about a new song for her persona of Pop Step. As well as, once again, we get the conversation that they have in the manga of Koichi telling her about how he wanted to be a hero and how he has all of this All Might hoodie merch, and that he eventually gave one away, which is why one of them is missing. As we also get an extended sequence of Koichi finding his way to eventually get into high school to be a hero, where we see that he saves this boy from drowning, which later on we learn is actually Pop Step, as well as in the anime and manga, this is where we get her official name of Kazuho. And how this conversation eventually leads Pop Step to a very well animated sequence of her flying through the air and her realizing that she always knew that Koichi was the boy that saved her, and leads to her wanting to return his hoodie to him. But unfortunately, because she's so much of a tsundere, she's unable to do it. And how this entire sequence ends very much like it was in the manga, with her in her room wearing his hoodie. And this sequence was just very emotional, even compared to what we got in the manga, because of the amazing animation sequences of Pop Step just flying through the air, really just showing how much freedom she has, or how much she really wants to convey her feelings to Koichi in this moment, as well as just how much the music really adds to this moment as well. And how one thing that I want to bring up is that how in the anime, when Pop Step wears the All Might hoodie and says Koichi's line about giving you courage, she sings it in the anime, which is not necessarily the case in the manga. which means that this is an added adaptation sequence, which is very much in line with what Pop Step is, which is a pop star, as well as the fact that this sequence starts off with her wanting to add something or create a new song, and having her end with singing something that she learned is implying that this is going to potentially be inspiration for a brand new song. So I really love that the anime added that small little piece of information. And that pretty much ends everything that we had with the first half of the episode, which is not a lot, very straightforward, very much slice of life, as we get to the second part of the episode, which is a little bit more action heavy. With the second half also starting off with an anime original scene of Akira Iwako, the hardening villain that we saw a few episodes prior, and the technical first quote-unquote reoccurring villain, not including Soga and his gang. And you'll see why I put quotes around reoccurring villain later on. But we see him being interrogated, leaving the police station, and eventually meeting Queen again, which is all anime original. And afterwards, we get the entire fight sequence between Koichi the Crawler as well as Akira Iwako, as it was in the manga, with even more added action sequences which were well animated, as well as having a few cut and or changed moments. For instance, while throughout the entire fight, we get to see how well Koichi is animated when he's using his slide and glide to avoid all of the attacks from Akira. While we see Koichi being pursued by Akira, in the manga, Pop calls Knuckle Duster for advice, and he tells her that Koichi doesn't stand a chance and so just buying time and it's up to the police. But for the anime, the call is cut out and changed to Koichi being the one who thinks about buying time and for her to call the police. And this is very great because it shows that in the anime, we see that Koichi is becoming a little bit more independent, which is going to be crucial for what's going to be going on later on in the series when inevitably Knuckle Duster is no longer connected with Koichi and Koichi has to be a hero on his own. I like how this change really adds to the idea that Koichi is coming into his own as a hero. And while the anime and the manga does imply that Koichi is influenced by the people around him, such as in this episode with Sten Hall, it really shows that he's becoming a lot more independent, which is necessary for him to be a vigilante hero. But we do get something else cut from the anime, which is that the civilians aren't cheering on Koichi for keeping Akira distracted. Also, something else that I almost forgot to bring up is that Koichi does the obligatory Akira bike slide in this action sequence as well. But with that, we get the amazing sequence of Koichi fighting against Akira, as well as a moment where he trips and is about to be attacked, as we see the entire scene turning red, implying that he's in grave danger of dying. This is where we get the proper introduction of Sten Hall in the series, which, if you can tell by the voice alone, you can tell that this individual is actually Stain.
そして必ずヒーロー40名殺傷犯であるこのステインを終わらせに来い。俺はスタンダール。君と同じおせっかい焼きだ。
Which makes sense because this is supposed to be a prequel series to My Hero Academia proper, and the implication is that this was what Stain was doing before he took on the moniker of Stain. And you can tell that this is most likely Stain just by the action sequence of him attacking and going up against Akira in this moment, which is eventually halted by the fact that the police are coming to the location. And very much like in the manga, we do see Koichi fanboying over Sten Hall as he and Pop are asked to meet up with an acquaintance of Ichimoku, aka Cyclops Josuke. And the episode begins to come to an end when we learn that the acquaintance is actually Soga, and that there is a change from the manga to the anime, which is built upon how the anime has adapted and changed stuff from the manga, which is that Pop calls Soga the Dox and Murder Man instead of the Grape and Murder Man during their reunion, since he never threatened her with the latter combination during his harassment in the anime. So once again, while Soga is not a great person, this makes him a lot more understandable and potentially redeemable in the anime versus what he was like in the manga. And while he doesn't accept their help at now, we learn at the end of the episode why he is most likely asking for their protection, as the episode ends with Stenhall going after and killing Akira as his next target is revealed to be Soga and his gang. But yeah, this is a very great episode. It really has a lot of emotion and heart, as well as a lot of action sequences to expect from the series at this point. As well as, while this is going to be a little bit of shorter episode due to the lack of changes made, the material itself is very much strong on his own and is very character focused and action focused, while also pushing the story along. As the episode implies that Stenhall and Queen may be working together, as well as showing that there is a pre-existing connection between Koichi and Popstep. So I really love how the anime is really adding and changing the manga material and separating itself from the original material, while also taking what made Vigilantes great and just amplifying it to make it better. But yeah, that's just my thoughts and breakdown on this episode of My Hero Academia Vigilantes. So let me ask you this. What did you think of the episode? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Leave your thoughts down below, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this. Do all that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in my next video. Goodbye!